California School District is suing some of the biggest players in the social media world for what they say is their role in the mental health crisis affecting young people. San Mateo County school officials allege TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube are targeting and exploiting school-aged children, which is leaving them to deal with, quote, the fallout, which includes distracted students, increased absences, more children diagnosed with ADHD, cyberbullying that carries into the classroom, and even physical damage to our San Mateo schools. The school board is asking the companies to pay for mental health services and for damages done to the schools during these challenges and going viral on the apps. Representatives for the three platforms did not comment directly on the lawsuit itself, but emphasized the work they are doing to keep their products safe. Joining us now, the superintendent of the district suing YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok, Nancy McGee, and the attorney representing the school district, Anne Marie Murphy. Thank you both for being with us. Nancy, I guess I'll start with you. I listed some of the things that you were seeing, but you were saying that what you were seeing in the kids in your county school district have a direct impact from social media, that social media is causing it? And if so, why not also Instagram?
Well, thank you so much for having us. I think that most of America knows that we're in the middle of a mental health crisis. It's real. The Surgeon General last year put out a report that and tied social media use in teenagers to a rise in anxiety and depression. Just for some numbers, Children Now reported that between 2016 and 2020, there was a nationwide rise in depression and anxiety among youth by about 26%. So what people don't realize is that these impacts in our young people are felt every day in our schools. Mm-hmm. So we feel it's time to shine a light on the impacts that this is having on our system. And therefore, we want to bring in those parties that are behind the impact and be a partner and be part of the solution as we move forward.
Anne Marie Murphy, what is the case that you are making? And also, again, why not Instagram?
Sure. Well, I'm pretty sure we will be adding parties, including the Facebook entities in the near term. But the suit is currently against YouTube, TikTok, and Snap, and it's brought by the San Mateo County Board of Education and Superintendent McGee. It's brought as a public nuisance litigation, and there's precedence for that type of litigation in our court when companies have widespread negative practices that are widely impacting communities. Like examples are the opioids litigation and the Juul e-cigarette litigation that's come before.
So I'm curious about the parallel big tech versus big tobacco, because a lot of conversations we've had here on the set of Morning Joe, some predictions have been made even years ago that this would be the next big tobacco lawsuit, again, with kids being preyed upon. So Anne Marie Murphy, do you see any parallels?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just starting with the fact that they are framed as public nuisance claims. So the legal theories are very, very similar, and at their heart, they are about the theory of a public nuisance. So, and both cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and now social media have had a very marked negative impact on youth age children and have had a role in what our schools are facing. As you probably know, a number of school districts banded together and were a very important part of the Juul e-cigarette litigation that is still ongoing. And we see this as having a lot of parallels to that. We're trying to address increases in mental health spending that the schools are experiencing as they just try to deal with this new reality of kids being addicted to social media.
Yeah, Jonathan Lemire, it's the parallels are there between big tobacco and big tech. You look at big tobacco having documents, having studies showing the harmful impact that cigarettes had to the health of Americans, and yet they never passed that along. They hid that information. You look at big tech. They've had studies where Mika keeps talking about Instagram because of the Facebook study, the internal study that talked about the increase that Instagram caused for teenagers, especially teenage girls, increase of depression, anxiety, suicidal tendencies, suicides. And you look at documentaries about Silicon Valley, and there's one especially compelling one, I think, called The Social Dilemma, where they talk about all the horrible things that social media do to children. And then at the end of it, they ask all of these top tech people, how much screen time do you give your kids? And they're like, screen time? Are you kidding me? Like, they don't, the people that run this multi-billion-dollar industry don't let screens in their own home for the most part, or if they do, they radically restrict their children from screen time because they know how damaging it is to their emotional health.
Yeah, the fact they have evidence to suggest that and yet cover it up, that's going to be a key part of future litigation going forward, certainly. So, Nancy, we know there are these real world impacts here you're seeing on students. Could you just put a human face to it? Could you just tell us maybe just one or two quick examples of things where you've seen in your school system the harmful impacts of these social medias?
Absolutely. I mean, online bullying, for one, is very impactful for kids at school. We've had posts up on social media that have been directly physically threatening harm to a child, and we contact the social media companies to remove the content. It's very, very difficult, almost impossible. So you can imagine the disruption that causes in a school setting when all the kids are together in the social setting of the school. We do have more children in San Mateo County being referred from their schools to psych emergency settings, more than we've ever seen before. And I think if you talk to any parent today of a preteen or a teen, they're going to tell you that the level of anxiety and depression, maybe not with their own children, but with their children's social network, is palpable and real. It's something that 15 years ago, when I was raising my own children, I don't think we were having to navigate.
Yeah, no, not at all. And Mika, I have kids, of course, as you know, spanning decades, and things have changed radically over the past 5, 6, 7 years. I know I've told this story before, but it's again relevant here. Just a reminder: when we went to a New Jersey college, and spoke to students there, we talked to the dean of students. I think it was 7 years ago. And said, hey, what are the biggest challenges you're facing with students? And we were shocked. He immediately said, Instagram. We're dealing with levels of depression and anxiety and suicidal ideations we've never dealt with before. And I remember we were all shocked because, that was 7 years ago. We had not heard about it. But in the time since, one administrator after another, one middle school principal after another, one high school principal after another,
one family after
another.
It's disruptive.
One family after another. This is the most obvious thing in the world. And if social media companies want to know why we're so angry, is because we've seen it. Our kids have grown up in the middle of it. We've seen the impact it's had on their friends, on their community, on their schools. And let me just say, especially in the case of Instagram, for girls especially, it is all bad. It is a nightmare. It is a nightmare for parents. It is a nightmare for educators. It is a nightmare for practicing therapists.
They're all a nightmare, Joe. They're all a nightmare because the other apps have that show where the kids are. We're going to be doing a lot of this because I think Nancy and Marie are onto something here that is incredibly important and is impacting our entire society and entire generations of children. They're growing up with emotional incoming 24/7. Now imagine not a break from it, and they don't have the skills or the emotional maturity to deal what's coming in all the time and what they're exposed to all the time.
Yeah. You know, when we went to school, when my older kids went to school, if they were bullied at school, if they had a hard time at school, they could come home and they were at a place where they could decompress. They can talk to their parents. We can talk through problems they had at school. They can go back and pray. This is 24/7. And again, yes, I know that's where the world is. What we're talking about here, though, we're not being Luddites.
Tobacco.
We're talking about the fact that this is just as bad as big tobacco or worse because they know the impact that this has on young minds. They know the impact this has,
killing them,
especially on teenage girls, but also on guys.
all of them.
And they're doing it anyway. They're doing it, and in fact, they're trying to expand the amount of hours that young people spend on their devices. There is no explaining this away from big tech. And when somebody reaches out to me from big tech after we talk about this, it only makes me more angry because there's no explaining this away. There's no, it's just like big tobacco putting out ads talking about how smoking cigarettes is actually good for you.
Please.
Like they did in the 40s and 50s. It's nonsense.
Nancy McGee and Marie Murphy, clearly we'll be watching this very closely. Hope to see you again soon. Keep us posted, please. Thank you.